they failed. He didn't deserve that.
France's son attends Augusta Fells Savage Institute of Visual Arts in West Baltimore. His transcripts show in 4 years, he has passed just 3 classes, earning 2.5 credits, which places him in 9th grade. But France says she didn't know that until February. She has 3 children and works 3 jobs. She thought her oldest son was doing well because even though he failed most of his classes, he was being promoted. His transcripts show he failed Spanish 1 and Algebra 1, but was promoted to Spanish 2 and Algebra 2. He also failed English 2, but was passed on to English 3.
I'm just assuming that if you are passing, that you have the proper things, to go to the next grade. And, the right grades, you have the right credits.
As we dig deeper into her son's records, we can see in his first 3 years at Augusta Fells, he failed 22 classes and was late or absent 272 times. But in those 3 years, only one teacher requested a parent conference, which France says never happened. No one from the school told this mother her son was failing and not going to class.
Yeah.
France's son, in his 4 years at Augusta Fells, earned a grade point average of 0.13. He only passed 3 classes, but his transcripts show his class rank is 62 out of 120. This means nearly half of his classmates, 58 of them, have a GPA of 0.13 or lower.
He's a good kid. He didn't deserve that. Where is the mentors? Where is the help for him? I hate that this is happening to my child.
What's up, everyone? Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Black versus the Board of Education. My name is Miss Laureen, and I'm so excited to see you ladies back again for another week. Are y'all ready?
Ready.
Yeah. All right. Now, don't be getting all quiet on me. You know, I don't like that. So let's go through. Let's introduce ourselves, and let's get into it. How about that? So go ahead, Lex, introduce yourself, and then Melissa, Trinity, and Janice.
Hey guys, I'm Lex. I'm 17 years old and I'm a senior in high school, and I'm glad to be back for another great conversation.
Miss Melissa.
Hey guys, my name is Melissa. I'm a 14-year-old freshman in Southern California, and I am so happy to be back again.
Good. Now, I'm going to tell you this really quick. Can you pull your microphone closer to you? Because I don't want no issues this week. I'm sorry, Miss Trinity, it's on you.
Hi guys, I'm Trinity. I am a junior at Laguna Creek High School here in Elk Grove, California.
And we're going to round it out with Miss Janice.
Hello, everybody. I'm Janice. I am a 14-year-old freshman here in the Sacramento region.
Perfect. Now stop leaning towards the microphone because it ain't necessary. Well, I really want to welcome you back and welcome the audience back because we're going to get into it for this week's conversation. But before we do, there's been a lot of articles coming out this week of districts behaving badly or students behaving badly. So why don't we start with this first conversation? Apparently a fight broke out at a basketball game because the opposing team was throwing out racial epithets. Now, I know that I have a few student athletes on the call. So when those things happen, because I'm not going to make you or let anybody assume what that's like. But as a basketball player, Miss Trinity, say you were at a basketball game and you heard these things. What type of things could a student athlete be going through?
I would definitely be upset, and I probably would fight. It's not okay. Or, my mom's in the stand. She'd probably fight too. Uh-oh. Oh,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
I was like, the screen started loading. But yeah, it would be distracting, and Yeah, it would hurt. Like I would be, I don't know, I'd just be very upset. So
Okay. For those of you, I know, Lex, you're a cheerleader. So if you were to hear some of these things going on, what might you be feeling, or what might the people on the team be feeling, right?
Yeah, I think personally, because I'm on the sidelines for a lot of these games, and I know that just straightforward, they're really intense, just in general, just the sport, the competition. It's really intense. And when someone throws a slur, that's a whole nother level of intensity, I think. And I think it's personal at that point, even if they don't mean it to be. And I would be extremely upset, and I probably would have some type of problem. I'd feel really uncomfortable just being there. I would feel unsafe. It really also depends on how everyone reacts to that. I don't know if the refs or if any of the people, if he got called off or what was going on in the situation. I would definitely be extremely upset. I'd be heated and I'd feel unsafe in that situation.
Let's move to the next story. Apparently, a teacher was fired because she objected to excessive punishment of a kindergartner. Should they be firing teachers who step in to protect students? And I'll go to Melissa, and your face is saying, what the hell?
A teacher shouldn't be fired for protecting a student. Students are at school to learn, and teachers are there to protect them. So if a teacher is being fired for doing her job, that's insane.
Janice, your thoughts?
You're firing someone for doing what you pay them to do. It doesn't add up. Obviously, they're there for a reason, and you have them there. So why, like, what is the purpose of firing them for doing what you insist on them doing? I mean, I feel like there needs to be a little more detail that I need to like fully, comprehend.
Yeah.
But like, it don't add up. It don't make sense.
Okay. Well, let me just read a little bit from the article. It says the student was screaming and crying while being held against his will in the office of a school psychologist, while Dr. Barnum held the door shut. And then the other quote, it said the child was screaming and crying loudly as the school principal held him in a football hold. As the principal walked with the student under her arm, he grabbed the hold of the door frame. The principal then forcefully yanked his body so that he would let go of the frame.
So it was the principal fired?
No, it was this teacher who witnessed that treatment, who reported that treatment, that ended up being fired.
She had all right to report that treatment. But you're holding him, he's screaming, he's crying. Obviously, there is a problem with this child. You're treating him roughly, and he's already in a poor state. Like, what are you doing as administration? You're not doing your job properly. You should be the one being fired, not the teacher.
That? I agree. So the last story that really caught my attention this week, the 13-year-old who went to a sleepover. Apparently, the history is he's been bullied at this school for an amount of time. One of the so-called bullies befriended him and invited him to a sleepover. At this sleepover, they woke him up out of his sleep and forced him to drink pee while throwing racial insults at him. What do y'all think?
Okay, if this has been being bullied, mama and father, what in your right mind says it is okay to let your child to go to a sleepover with the people who bullied them?
Right. It's crazy. I agree.
I'm just at a whole loss. And they're investigating the treatment, yet nobody has been held responsible. And it's on video. I had a chance to look at the video. He looks like they hand him this cup of urine, and they're standing over him laughing as they are having him drink this urine from these boys all played on the same football team is what, in reading the article, is what I came up with. And I'm with you. I'm like, at what point do us as parents step in and we say, I didn't spend the night over a whole bunch of people's houses when I was growing up.
Right.
My mama probably didn't trust people like that. So as a parent, do you try to have your child, and I'm posing this and you guys can, jump in when you want to, but do you think that mom was just trying to have him be friends with somebody, or maybe she felt that maybe these boys were turning over a new leaf? Like, what do you think mom could have been thinking?
I think it's possible that she was trying to make the most out of the situation, being that he was bullied for a long time. But regardless, like, he was being treated, badly by these kids. There's no reason why he should be over at their house. Like, what did you think was possibly going to happen? And, and like, you reported it to the district and the school multiple times, nothing's been done. So why I just don't understand, like, like, it doesn't add up. Like Janice says, it's not adding up. Like,
as mama bear, if anything, if they invited him to a sleepover attempting to make amends, why would you let your child go to the bullier's house? Why didn't you have it at your house? I mean, like, if it was at your house, you would have more oversee. You would see what they were doing. You'd probably be more aware and alert. You go send your son, your African American son, knowing it is already hard for Black students out here, to a house full. Mama and father, come on now.
And I agree with Miss Cat. She said, I think, first of all, the parents whose house the boy was at should be answering and be held accountable. I am very selective of where my child goes and with whom. And I'm with you. I'm with you, Kathy, for real. Because I don't know, I'm that type of parent. I'm about to roll up and say, what the hell? Like, what is going on? Even if my child was even allowed to go. So, Jordan, you can stop sharing the screen. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Ladies, so there's been a lot of, before we get into that, because I was about to get into the conversation, see if my mind was somewhere, I have to send a shout out to Miss Karen Watkins of the Gwinnett County School Board, who we had a chance to meet while we were in Atlanta, and we had a chance to get to know her and to talk about the programming that we offer for students. And I think that we are going to be bi-coastal really, really soon. So shout out to Miss Karen Watkins for having us and showing us how they get down in Georgia or in Atlanta, or Gwinnett County. So thank you very much for your hospitality and for allowing us into your space and to tell us about the unique struggles that are happening there and how we can be of assistance. So shout out to her. So as we transition and we get to this week's conversation, ladies, this student, senior year, 2.5 credits. Mama said she didn't know that he was not passing, although he has basically had straight Fs for, I don't know how many years, 3 years. It's his senior year, and she's upset because he's not graduating. Who's at fault?
the mom.
The mom,
Child as well.
the child, they're all at fault. For one, let's talk about mama.
Okay, so hold on before you start, because I actually heard Trinity first. Trinity, you said mom's at fault. Tell me why mom's at fault.
Why aren't you aware of what your student is going through? And I'm coming from the point why I say the mom's at fault is because a child's isn't gonna know any better than what their parents teach them. So what we have in our tool belt it's echoing. But what we have in our tool belt is what our parents teach us and what experiences we go through in our lives. And so if our parents aren't, reinforcing these ideas on us that school is important and that you need to exceed all expectations and whatnot, how is the kid gonna know what to do in certain instances? And I think in the video that played before, they said that the mom would work 3 jobs and had 3 kids. I just feel like as a parent, you're supposed to be responsible for those. You're supposed to be in tune to what your kid has going on. I don't know what else I was going to say. I forgot, but yeah.
That's all right. That's all right. Think of it and we'll circle back to you. Miss Janice, you said the mama, the school, basically everybody's at fault. So tell me why.
backing up what Trinity said, like you a child is only going to know what they have been taught. As a kid, you learn what you have been taught. You go about this world doing what you have been taught. So if you're teaching, you have 3 jobs, obviously it's because of some circumstance. So why aren't you enforcing on your child? It is important you go to school. It is important you get these grades. You go to college, you make something of yourself, and you be better than I am. It is mom's fault. You're crying about your son not doing well. Why aren't you involved in these things? Why aren't you weren't informed of the PTO meetings? Why aren't you calling the school? Why aren't you taking accountability for your son's actions? Because it's not the teacher's job to baby your son and nanny him throughout everything. They don't get paid that much.
Right. It's not the teacher's job. I think that the mom should be held accountable. There's certain things that you teach your child. They don't go to school to learn about morals or values and things like that. Those are things that you teach at home, and those are things that get enforced at school. So I think that the mom is responsible for maybe her child not failing these classes, but not being up in school and knowing school's important and going through the motions of passing school so child can do something with their life. So that does fall on the mom, because it's not the school's job to say you need to be at school excelling in school. It's the school's job to have you in school going through the motions. But the mom also needs to be on the other end, making sure you're going through these motions, So I feel like it's on the school, it's on the mom, it's on the child, but I think a majority of it is on the mom.
Right.
Melissa.
Yeah, I agree. If she said there were no meetings set up, right? There were no meetings to check in with the child. If there are no meetings, why are there no meetings? Why are you not checking that to know how your child is doing? Why are you not talking to your child? How are you doing in school? Your child is your priority. Yes, you have 3 jobs and other kids, but your child is your priority. You are working these 3 jobs to provide for your child, and by not being involved in his life, in his school life, you're failing him yourself.
Right.
Now, I noticed none of y'all said anything about the school. So what culpability does the school or the system have for this young man? Because I would submit they were getting ADA for him. Why was he? What the hell were they doing?
Yeah, I think the school's at fault as well. Although, like, I agree with Lex that the mom has the most responsible or is most at fault. I feel like the school, you're continuously passing this kid and moving him on to the next grade, knowing that he hasn't passed or even attended the previous classes. Like, that doesn't even make sense. How is he going to be able to pass the next class if he didn't pass the class that was prior to that? You know what I mean? So it's just like, also, I do believe it's the school's responsibility to ensure that our kids are safe, that they're being taught right, that they're protected, that they feel respected in the school environment, regardless of how much they get paid or not. That is your job. Your parents drop kids off at school for 8 hours of the day to make sure that they're learning, that they're being taken care of during the day. And it's just as much as it's the mom's fault as the school's fault. Like, there's people there that, in like majority of the kids at the school are failing anyways. So like the system is just all types of corrupt. You know what I mean?
So you brought up a good point. 58 students have at the same or lower GPA than this kid has. He has a 0.13 GPA, and I was trying to figure out yesterday. Melissa and I were doing some math. How does one get a 0.13 GPA? And I was telling her that I remember being in college and I had 2 pass, no pass, or credit, no credit classes. And this one semester I was catting off and I got a D and an F. I still had a 0.67. So I'm trying to figure out how one gets a 0.13. Because I know I landed on academic probation. I had a D and an F. Not bragging about that. I'm just stating the facts. Like, I ain't perfect. So when we talk about a 0.13, what do y'all think one has to do to get a 0.13?
Not even be there, not even pay attention. And they said they said he had over 200 abscesses.
Well, they said abscesses or tardies. Abscesses or tardies.
I think it was absences.
It was absences, 272, I think.
So it's
I
like
need to run that tape because I believe it said absences and tardies.
It was a
It was a
combination.
Combination, okay.
Yeah.
So, like, if your child, if he's absent, they call the school after the school calls the
Do
parent
they?
after so many absences, or
Do
they
they?
send a letter,
No.
or they do
Do they?
something.
Well,
They
we're assuming that's what they did, but did they do that? That's
No,
something
they
that
dropped
we
the
have to
ball.
ask ourselves. Mom said they didn't. I don't know. I'm not part of this school, but what I will tell you is we looked up the student survey. Number one, the student survey they have online is from 2017. I'm gonna need a more recent student survey. But it was the numbers were all skewed. So when you're talking about how the parents felt about this school, they felt their students were safe or felt safe on this campus about 94% of the time. The staff said 86% of the time that the kids felt safe on campus. The kids said 33% of the time. So there's a huge, like, I don't know what this school is doing. I know that there are calls for this school to be shut down. I know that according to the data from that school, they have 434 students there. 95% of them are Black. We don't even have to go into that conversation, how they treat Black students within the school system. So do you believe this is a case of them just not giving a damn because there are Black students? And would they give more of a damn if there were other kids, mostly? Because their numbers don't even make sense. They say the school is 95% Black, 5% Hispanic, 5% white, 5% Asian, 5% Indian, 5% Pacific Islander, 5% multiracial. So somebody can't do math.
20%.
So somebody can't do math. Because if there's 95% of Black kids, the other 5% includes all these other groups, right? So if it were flipped, do you think that they would allow this to happen at a predominantly white school?
I don't think they would allow this to happen at a predominantly white school because it's a different approach that teachers have to white students. They talk to them different. They look at them different. They teach them different. They converse with them differently. If you pay close attention, how they would address a white student and then how they would address one of us, it's different. So I don't think this would be occurring or this will be a problem. But I wanted to say about the mom, if there is time for you to be on the news talking about what's going on at your son's school, then you have time to be in a parent-teacher conference.
I hope she doesn't see this.
Listen, ride her.
I wanted to.
What you saying, Lex?
Sorry. I wanted to go off what Janice was saying about would this happen if it was on an all-white school or a majority white school. I feel like the expectations are completely different. So they're like, okay, we're going to give them the tools to success. You know, we're going to give them everything they need to get up and graduate, but they're not going to put in the effort. They're not going to hold us to the same expectations they would hold someone else. They're going to watch us go down this path that they set for us because they're obviously not here keeping track of our attendance, for one. You know, they're just trying to get the money and then dip. They don't care about us. They don't care about what we're doing after this. So they're just they're putting us through the motions, and that's all they're doing because they hold other students to different expectations than they hold to us. And I remember I was looking at the report that you sent, and the testing and everything for the white students was a lot higher than the testing and the expectations they had for the Black students or the other students that they had on campus that weren't white. And I was looking at that, I was like, that's interesting. The performance rates and everything is is very interesting. And so I do not think it would be the same if it was a predominantly white school.
What
I
is
was
it
gonna
called?
piggyback.
Go ahead, honey. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just saying I was gonna piggyback on it. It would be different if it was a predominantly white school, simply because of the curriculum that they teach in schools. Like there's nothing that has to do with highlighting Black excellence or you know empowering Black students. So that could be another factor. That's all I was gonna say.
I want to piggyback on that because their expectations be so high, but it's just like you expect us to do this, but we haven't seen no one. You haven't discussed no one who looks like us doing this. You want us to be who you want us to be, but you have yet to discuss us and our history. It don't work like that.
So do you think that he's just not interested in the curriculum? Is that what y'all saying?
I feel like he's probably not interested because there are reasons. Every person does things for a reason. Obviously, if he sees his mom working 3 jobs, he has younger siblings. It's hard for them. Obviously, he would at least want to attempt to try and succeed, but it falls on the backs of the teachers and the staff and the environment of the school, because if the school isn't a comfortable environment, you see from the ratings of the students, obviously you're not going to want to learn there. Obviously, you're not going to want to pay attention, and obviously you're not going to want to excel.
Yeah, the staff probably isn't putting in enough effort, or the staff is making it seem like they don't want to be there or something. They're not giving him that boost, that little thing that's like, hey, we want you here. We want you to succeed at this school. So he's just like, why am I even going here anyways? They obviously don't want me here. I think in the video they said only one teacher reached out about his grades and everything out of what, like 6, that'd be like 24 classes. So like that'd be 24 different teachers. And only one of those teachers, because he's a senior, only one of those teachers decided to reach out to his mother. Only one of those teachers decided, take that extra step. It's not even extra. You're supposed to take that step to reach out to their parents. So I think that the staff and the faculty at that school obviously isn't putting in the work that they should in just to keep students there and make them feel safe and comfortable.
Exactly. And I wanted to go back.
Okay, go ahead.
I wanted to go back to what Janice said about the teachers talking to white students differently and thinking something different of the white students, thinking more of the white students. They actually care about the white students. To the black students, to teachers are just a paycheck, are just like how you said, Miss Lauren, that they were collecting the attendance money for him. That's all. He was just another paycheck to them. So the teachers have to actually care about the students in order for the students have to feel cared about in order to want to come to school and want to succeed. They need to know that they're cared about at home and at school in order to want to learn and want to be there and want to succeed.
Yeah, and I always look at the money, right? I look at the money. So if you have this school, basically more than half of your senior class is failing. I'm trying to figure out where they're diverting resources to. And so I pulled the school's budget because and so we're looking at they're spending stuff like $3,500 on cell phones. They have instructional supplies, $50,000, other professional services that they don't tell you what they are, $179,000 and some change. And then we go down to, you have 2 assistant principals. Between the 2 of them, they make $277,000 a piece. I'm sorry, not a piece, combined. And then you have an assistant, a 10-month non-instructional assistant that makes $110,000. I'm sorry, there are 2 of those. Together, they make $110,000. Then you have 15 teachers who make $1.4 million between them. I don't know what this is because it's just very basic, this template or this thing. The principal makes $150,000. The psychologist makes $67,000. The social worker makes $114,000. And none of these people who make all this damn money could have called mom and told her there was a problem.
Where was the social worker? Where was the
psychologist?
I'm just confused. I'm looking at where the money is being diverted to. They got 3 special ed. First of all, I need to know, does he have an IEP or a 504? Because it's not normal for a child to fail 20-something classes. Like, that's not normal. That seems to me that he needs a little bit more attention. So you have these people, the speech pathologists, you have all these people in positions, IEP team associates. There's 2 IEP team associates, and between the 2 of them, they make $230,000. How comes these people? I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. But I'm just trying to figure out all these doggone people on this budget, and nobody could be bothered enough to pick up a telephone. So we have an issue. We have an issue. 62 out of the class. Yeah, that means 58 students are below him. And yet we're paying all this money to these people who are in positions that seem to me they don't need to be there anymore.
None of them do. None of them do. They're unqualified. they shouldn't be in their position, because obviously they don't care about their position if they're letting children go by like this and get by like this and still passing them. Minding you, like what Trini said, you send him to the next level. If he didn't pass the first level, how would he pass the second one? You're setting
or the third one.
failure. It's
Right.
failure. The system is failing. This is not okay.
So now there are calls for that school to be shut down.
Yes.
Are they warranted?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Shut
Yeah.
Yes.
Closed.
Either that or they need to hire all new qualified
Either
staff.
that or the whole
But the
Right.
kicker is you have to go through a lottery to even get in this damn school. This is one of the special schools.
Can't be
Yeah.
that special. Over half of their senior class is failing.
But it's one of the special schools. You have to get in the lottery and they have to pull your number for you to even be admitted into this school.
I'm afraid to see the other schools.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I mean, it's just this whole damn system is guilty as hell. And I'm not letting mom off the hook. Please don't get me wrong. Mom absolutely had a responsibility to make sure her son was doing what he was supposed to do. But you know who else had a responsibility?
the school, the teachers,
Her son.
Yeah,
the
the
boy,
student.
the child. He did have some responsibility, but it's just like if he wasn't taught no better, then
I mean, but that's assuming, because y'all know y'all parents can teach you things all they want to, and y'all get, start to smelling yourself, and y'all start doing what the hell y'all want to do. Let's talk about it, because y'all know how you get. Don't try to pull the rule over my eyes. Y'all know I'm just straight up. Y'all start to smelling yourselves, and y'all want to do what you want to do. So he has some responsibility in this situation. If you have not ever passed a class, how did you think you was going to graduate senior year, sir?
Right. It shouldn't be a surprise.
That's 1 year from being an adult. How many? You 17 right now, Lex, right?
Yeah, I'm a senior. Exactly. Yeah.
Do you want to be treated like a baby, or do you want people to start trusting you with more responsibility?
No, start treating me like an adult. Yeah, I want the responsibility. I want the trust. Give it all to me. I'm about to be out of your hands. Okay, give it to me. Lay it on me.
We're not doing no babying around here. He absolutely has a
No.
responsibility. And somebody was trying to say something. I'm sorry, I got a little worked up. Who was that? Who was trying to talk? Trinity? Was that you?
No, I didn't say nothing.
I
Okay.
think it was probably Janice.
It was Janice. Oh, you? Well, girl, you did say something.
I was gonna say, like, as a student, we have community. Like, he's not isolated and going to school by himself for a reason. Like, you could have reached out to any of your peers, the ones who were succeeding and the ones who you knew could be actually having a chance to, get through senior year and get out of high school, to ask them for a little help, ask them for a little assistance. Mom, you could have asked. They have assuming they might have resources, assuming you might be able to get in contact with the parents. Y'all might live in the same neighborhood. If your kid goes to the same school, you could reach out to people too. You could reach out to free tutors online. We have internet.
Do
We
y'all
have
trust those free? Do y'all take advantage of those tutors on your campuses right now?
I do. I definitely do. After
Okay,
school.
you do. Anybody else?
I've had a tutor before,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have
same here.
but not through the school.
not through the school.
So she's saying that he could have reached out for these free services. Do you all take advantage of the things that are at your disposal right now?
Yes.
100%.
I mean, yeah, but
Every day.
And notice when you say that there are no young men on this podcast.
Mhm.
right.
How do they show up in society? What are the words or the thoughts or whatever being attributed to them to have them not want to take advantage of free resources? It hits a little different, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it hits a little different. I don't know if they're the weakest link. They're definitely a targeted link. They're definitely the suspension and expulsion rates in most districts tell a really condemning story about a school system, period. So to assume, I know he has some responsibility, but what has been communicated to him up until this point to where it's like, nah, I'm just going to be over here. And what if his friends were some of those 58 that are right there with him failing?
And that goes back to what Janice said about not having studies and curriculum on Black excellence. If he's not seeing what he can become, that's part of the reason he's failing. If he isn't able to engage and relate to the things that he's learning about, how is he going to think that he can be something more than he already is?
But is that an assumption? Because I don't know what the teaching staff is, and maybe I need to look at that. But the majority of the kids in his school look like him. So are we making an assumption because we're here in California? Or have we looked at the numbers for this specific demographic? Have we looked at their community, where they live, what he has access to? I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I did see the news story, and he was in there playing video games, so they got something. But you know, aside from the pleasures, and I'm not making a decision or trying to be sarcastic when I say, you know, sometimes families buy these video games to create an escape for their kids, right? So when they tell me that he was failing, my first thought was, who did he have access to? Did he have anybody who showed him and said, look, I know you're probably not doing well, but let me help you. Let me figure out how we can, you know, fix this. Because if they don't have caring adults around, it just is different. And so go ahead.
The learning environment definitely hits different when the people who are teaching you, you know, they actually care about you. But sitting in a classroom trying to understand and comprehend when you're being taught by someone who you know does not care and can't wait to leave, you're not going to be as responsive. You're not going to be as attentive. So it's definitely a different experience when you know your faculty, your staff, they care for you. They have a connection with you before they even attempt to try and correct you. Because like Miss Lorraine has said, you can't correct a student you have no connection with. It don't work like that. You're not going to get the response you want. It's not going to end well because you don't know this kid, but you want to correct them and make them be who you want them to be, but you don't even know them.
I was going to say, I think just Black people, like parents, students, like we have to like stop relying. I know it sounds like crazy, but like stop relying on these schools that have failed us numerous of times in the past and in the present, like to give us all the food and the nurturing we need and all the tools we need to succeed. Like, and I know it sounds like, you know, messed up, like that we can't rely on the school like that, but like in reality, the schools are just going to tell us about like the community colleges and not that they're bad, and you know, the Sac States and the CSUs and the UCs, and not open our perspective to what we can reach like outside. And that's a problem. And so that's why our parents and the adults and mentors that we have and that we come into contact with in our life, that's what they're there for. And some people don't know that there's people out there for them. And I've met real life examples of that. Like, you know, some people are just boxed in because like you said, Black people have targets on their back. Black men have targets on their back, and they're focused on survival more than like trying to make it and trying to be excellent. You know what I mean? And it's just, I don't know. I feel like we have to do better as like a community of once we get up, we have to pull each other up with ourselves. Like the crab in the barrel thing. Like, I don't know if you heard that Jay-Z rap. I wish I could like play it. But like the crab in the barrel.
Right, crabs don't belong in no damn barrel. That's why they're trying to get out. They don't belong there.
Yeah.
I hate that analogy.
That's what I'm saying.
Go ahead, Mama. Go ahead. But you said the Jay-Z rap.
Yeah, well, I couldn't play it right now because I don't have it. But like, you know, it's just I feel like we all have to do better with reaching back and giving back. Like, we can't just like look at ourselves.
If one of us is failing, then we are all not where we need to be. As long as there's one student who is failing, then the rest of us are still suffering because there's no one without the multitude. It don't work like that. Like, we all have to be here for each other. And that's why there are things and there are groups like Black Boys Support Network, Black Girls Support Network, where people who are there to help you, adults who are there to help you, which is why it's a Zoom link to where students like him can join in and possibly get help from some of our leaders, some of the mentors there. So it's just like, I get what Trinity is saying. It's not up to the school. We can't rely on them. We can't depend on them. That's like depending on something you know is going to fall. you can't depend on them. It's not going to hold us up. It's not our anchor, which is why we have to be here for each other, to help each other, which is exactly why community is so important and so significant.
And they talk about
I don't know. I think it's okay.
They talk about no student left behind, but you have left behind hundreds of students at this school. Like that's every student at your school has been left behind. That's not working. Go ahead, Trinity.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I think I'm not I don't want to make assumptions about the situation, but I just I don't know. It's bizarre to me, and I think it's also important to recognize that some people just don't know. Like some people are just clueless on Earth. Like not everybody has the tools that or the things that we know. Like on the podcast, like some people just don't know that there's resources like that, and that's why there's people like Miss Lorraine, like me, like Lex, like Janice, like Melissa, all of us out here to spread the word on things like this, so that we can help students, so that we can help people that look like us. I don't know. I just think, and it's like maybe it's like reaching or whatever, but I really do think that this might be one of those situations where he just didn't know, or he, I don't know.
Well, no, I totally agree with you, Trinity.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No.
Because I do have someone who's close to me who had a really low GPA. He was extremely focused on sports. He thought sports was sports. That's my way out. Who cares about school? But, he had to do these certain things to keep on going in these sports. And I would be like, hey, you can do this. You have this, you have this. And, my dad would always be like, you have this, this, and this. Because you have to take the bus to school every day. Or you have to walk like 2 hours to get to school, So things like that, would be like, I don't need to go to school. I'm not going to walk 2 hours because I missed the bus or things like that, So there's lots of layers, I feel like. And I can totally agree with what Trinity says. If you know that you're there to help someone up, if you could give that leg up, be like, hey, I know that this, our school hands out free bus passes, so you can get the bus free every day. Or like our school does this for you, so that can help you out with that. There's just I feel like I totally agree. Community is really a big thing, and we need to be there for each other and reach out for each other. Because a lot of cases it is you don't know because you don't have a way to get those resources, and you don't have ways to reach out. Your household's really limited or things like that. So I completely agree with what you were saying.
Melissa, were you trying to say something?
No, I agree 100% with what she said. That there needs to be some kind of resource somewhere that is helping the students be engaged and want to come to school and feel like someone is going to be there for them. There needs to be something at every single school to help the students, because the students are there to learn, and they should be your number one priority. If you're a parent, your child is your number one priority, and they need to be your number one priority. In this case, seems that he was not. And if you are a teacher or a staff, the students that you are making money off of need to be your number one priority. Their well-being, not just the fact that you're making money off of them. Them succeeding and them being able to graduate needs to be your number one priority, or you have failed yourself and failed the students, failed at your job.
Yeah. I mean, I always try to go into things with more of an open mind and looking at all like different angles that people can take, right? And when you tell me something about a young man, I think of all of the social media that he has been subjected to in the last couple of years, the different Black bodies that he's seen pretty much killed. I mean, you guys are kind of bombarded with all these images all the time. Do you think that it impacts your desire to even want to be in a school environment, period? What do you think?
I think it impacts your will to live, like to even just go about life on a daily basis. Like it just like seeing an officer kneel on a man's neck for 8 minutes and 40 something seconds, 46 seconds. Like why would I want to, continue going on? Like I don't know. It's Black mental health is something that I think we should talk about that maybe in the next episode or something. That's something that's crazy.
needs to be prioritized. Like seeing things like that, especially young Black men. Like I've had someone close to me say, "Well, you know, if I'm riding in a car and they might kill me while for being out, what's the point of me trying to do my best in school?" Like,
Right.
but and it's the truth. Like being a Black man, like being a Black person, it's a job. Like it's a full-time job. Like code switching, having to change how you are. Like as soon as you even see an officer, you kind of get nervous. I'm not even gonna lie, I get nervous when being in a vehicle and seeing an officer. My mom has dark tints on our car because police officers, they're very much unpredictable. There needs to be more training. There needs to be more coaching. Like, Lord Jesus, this world.
Do y'all believe that? Do you believe there needs to be more training and coaching, or do you think or there is selective enforcement of said laws? Like we have to be clear because they don't respond like that to everybody. So I don't think it's a matter of training. I think they've been trained. It's enforcement of that training or the application of said training. So I don't want to give them an out like that. Go ahead, Mama.
That's the Jay-Z. My mom just put it in the chat. That's the rap I was talking about. Because we were just listening to that the other day. So that's why I said that. If you wanted to read it.
Well, I mean, you could have read it. Shoot.
Oh, okay. Well, it says, is it gonna go away? Okay, it says crabs in a barrel, but crabs don't belong in the barrel, and they ain't never tell us that. So in the barrel, we gonna act like we act. We can easily get out the barrel if we stand on each other's back. Whoever gets on top, as long as they stay attached, they gonna pull everybody out. I was doing just that. See, that's what I meant.
There you go. Thank you for putting that lyric in there, Mama. We appreciate that. Because I just think that, you know, we have to start to really look at things, not just, you know, from our own perspective, but to be able to look at it from different perspectives. As Black women or Black girls like you are, there's a different type of motivation that I see in young ladies. You guys are super... there was this quote that used to be, it says, mothers raise their daughters, but they love their sons. And so,
truth.
I mean,
that's the truth.
There are certain things that we do with daughters that we don't do with our sons. And I don't know if it's because we feel we're not equipped to, and I can't speak for every mother. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say anything about single mothers and their ability to mother their sons. I'm not saying that. But that quote has always resonated with me. Mothers raise their daughters, but love their sons. And I'm like, well, how come mothers can't love their daughters and raise their sons, right? It's just a different type of ambition that our parents put into us. And we know that we can succeed. Not all of us, because I can't generalize, but the majority of young ladies that come through BYLP, there's a certain drive that you all have. Somebody has spoken into your life and told you you can do it, and there's nothing that's going to stop you. And y'all have the audacity to believe it, and y'all come in and you take over right away. And I love that. I love that. But then I start to look at some of the boys that have come through, and not all of them have been super ambitious. I mean, Michael Tubbs was super ambitious. Roman Geiger, super ambitious. But the majority of boys who come through BYLP, they're not there yet because people haven't loved them enough in this setting to tell them, you are fantastic. You can do this. We're going to push you until you achieve what it is you want to achieve. And so when I'm saying that, I start to think about this young man in this school. And I think Faiza said it earlier. She says, I'm trying to imagine how that boy engaged in the classroom setting and how his teachers engaged with him knowing he was failing regularly.
Yeah. Right? How does that even go? How do you look a child in the eye on, not every day, the days that he did come, how do you look a child in the eye and talk to him and knowing that he's failing? How does that
do you talk to him?
And a lot of teachers and a thing with Black students is they don't talk to us. Sometimes they talk at us. And I'm not going to be responsive when you're talking at me because you don't talk to this white student, you talk to him, but you're going to talk at me. That's some things that teachers do. They talk at their students. Well, you need to do this and you need to do that. And complete this and this and that so I can get you out of my classroom. Stuff like that. Like, are you going to talk with me and talk me through it, or are you just going to try and throw this at me so you can get your job done and go home?
Because then guard goes up if you're talking at him, and he's not going to be responsive to what you're saying. He's not going to want to, because you're not respecting him, so he's not going to be responsive to what you're saying. He's not going to take in what you're saying, what you're trying to teach him, because you have shown him that you don't care.
And environments of kind of how the expectations that people hold young Black men to, of having to be this just hard shell that nobody can crack. But it's just like, why don't you, instead of feeding that shell, why don't you try and nurture it? Why don't you try and love on it? Show it some care, some compassion. Are you okay? Are you mentally having any struggles that is preventing you from excelling and doing your best in this school environment? Is there something wrong? Is there something going on at home? Do you need help? You need groceries? You need gas money? Like, why isn't that coming into part with these students and these young men in these classroom environments?
I want to jump on what Janice is saying.
I mean,
always say this.
Let's jump on. You don't gotta press it. Go ahead. Go for it.
I say this a lot to some people that I know, and I say I feel like Black men or Black people, but specifically Black men, I feel like they can't win in society because there's always this portrayal just on males in general, but extremely for Black brothers, that they're violent, they have to be extremely tough, and they can't show any emotions. But then they try and turn around in school and they try and ask for help, or they try and be good and active in the school environment, and then they get made fun of, they get mocked, or they like stick to the football field or something like that. And so I feel like there's no in between. And right now in schools, there's this really extremes. There's like, you can sit over here, like sit in the back room, you're aggressive, you just don't pay attention to class. And I just feel like Black students, Black males just in general, there's no like medium, there's no compromise. It's always one extreme or the other extreme. And I feel like we need to talk to them about that. And we need to be like, how do we fix it? So you do have that middle ground, that peaceful ground where you're not being judged and everything. You can do as you please, basically.
Do you think it's a difference between and I don't know a different way to say it. Okay. I don't know a different way to say it, but do you think that there's a difference between regular, and I say that with air quotes because I don't want to diminish them, but do you think there's a difference between regular male students and Black male athletes? Do you think there's 100%. A difference between them?
100%, because a lot of Black male athletes, they view their athletics and their talent as a way out, as this is my ticket, and as long as I got this, I don't need nothing else. And some people, they feed into that. They feed, oh yeah, that's all you need. You're gonna get out of here, just keep doing it. And then they don't acknowledge the other aspects of that. Like, why aren't you teaching your son house skills, cleaning up after himself, cooking, paying attention in class? Why aren't you valuing those things instead of just, babying him and catering to his schooling and his talent? Like, you have to cater to all aspects and realms of this man before he grows up and becomes becomes a man, or he eventually is a grown boy. Like, a lot of people are raising grown boys. These boys are not men, they're grown boys because they have not been taught. And I feel like it's kind of an unknown thing because a lot of people don't know. You can't teach someone if you've never been taught and you have never tried to get the proper teaching. So it's deeper. There's different levels. There's definitely a different approach to Black athletes than there is just a regular student doing his work or a Black musician.
Yes, and so totally. You took it a different way. Because I was talking about on campuses. Do you think that there's a difference between regular Black students and Black male athletes?
I do. I do, because of the fact that the staff at the schools tokenize Black male athletes. They put them on pedestals to where, like, oh, they're so great, because they're giving more attention to our schools' athletics. We're making more money off of them. We're profiting off of them. But regular Black students, not even, students who are, maybe 4.5 GPA students or 4.0 GPA students that are just like are in the in between. They don't cater to them like they do. They don't put students on the pedestal. They don't give them the attention that they would give to a Black male athlete. That's the shining star on the basketball team or the football team or the track team or whatever.
If they don't,
Yes.
if they
Sorry,
don't
go
think-
ahead, Melissa.
If they don't think that they can get something from the student, they're not going to care. Like how Trinity said, if they're the star student and they think that they can get something from the student, then they're going to want to cater to that student more, to the athlete. And if they're just a regular student who's just trying to get through school, they don't see what they can get from that student except the money. They don't see anything else in that student. They just see them as a paycheck. They see them as essentially nothing. So if they don't see what they can get from that student, they're not going to care about them.
Yes, I can definitely. I firsthand seen that happen. I used to date someone. I used to date someone who was the captain of the football team. So I saw a lot of things that were in and out. And so our school, what we have is we have a probation. So like if your grade point average or if you have like 1D or an F in a class, you can't play. But I've seen the school be like, go ahead and play. He's the head of the team, just go ahead and play, your grades, it happens, we know you're going to get it back up, all this bull. And the thing is, they don't even talk to him. Like he'll go to the office about different things, but they won't even put anything about college or future education in his boots or anything, So it's just be like, how are your grades? Are you ready for the game next week? Not, have you thought about college? Last year is a junior, and all they did was ask him about how he think they're gonna play at the next game or how they're gonna do this. Not, have you thought about going to college? Have you looked at colleges? They were on his back for sports. They were not on his back for his well-being or him in the future. So I've seen firsthand how schools turn a blind eye when it comes to athletics, especially for Black students.
Even in like the classroom setting, like you'll see teachers, and I'm sure all of us have seen it, like back when we were in school, you'll see teachers like, sit there and talk to the Black male student, the star player or whatever, for 15 minutes about the game last night. But when it comes
to class,
but when it comes to like asking them if they need help, they'll never do that. Like, I don't know, man.
I want to interject. They'll talk more with the student about injuries and possible injuries and how their bones are feeling more than they'll check in with the student about their academic level and their GPA. I've watched the teacher hold a conversation about if this boy's injury was feeling better before the game. And then I asked him once about the D that student had in the class. But it was all about the game and it was all about him playing. But what about the grades? What about college? What about trying to mentally prepare him for what y'all aren't really discussing?
That seems like that's going to be a need for a whole episode of itself, because I'm wondering if this student, I don't even know if this school has a football program, a basketball program, but I'm wondering if he was athletic in that way, if they would have passed him on, because what I'm hearing from you all is that they're being passed on, and that's historically been what it is. Like I remember seeing a story about these athletes who went to some big college program, and they were just kind of shepherding them into certain classes and then giving them a foreign language, and it happened to be Swahili, and they weren't going to the class, but it was listed as Swahili, and they were passing them through. So I think that's a good topic that maybe we should explore next time. But I heard y'all said everybody's at fault in this situation. We want to make sure that if this ever gets back to his mother, that she knows that we have mentors waiting for him now in the Black Boys Support Network, that we have people on our staff that are ready to assist her and support her with our Black Parents Network. But we also understand that there is a burden to shoulder as a single parent. We honor that because it takes a lot, but we know that you need some help. And so we're here to offer help. We want to make sure that everybody watching knows and they are hooked in with any of our support networks. We have 4 of them, I think. We have 4 of them, support networks. We also have 2 support groups, one for Black women, one for Black men. We have our Bassin group that also has adults and youth. So just tap in where you want to tap in because we're here to assist you. We have about 30 seconds left. And so with that, I want to get your final thoughts, and we're going to go over time if we go, all of y'all. So let me give a final thought real quick. Nobody gets a pass. On this podcast, we going after everybody. We going to hold everybody accountable. We're going to hold everybody accountable. We're going to be
We even hold ourselves accountable.
Facts. And that's why they have me here. So with that, we want to tell y'all thank you for tuning in for another episode of Black versus the Board of Education. And on 1, 2, 3, we're going to hit them with that wave. 1, 2, 3. Y'all take care. Have a good rest of your week. And we will see you next week.